In this lesson, we're going to take a look at formulas, which is an algebraic technique that allows us to solve problems without having to do repeated calculations. Formulas are very valuable. They allow us to save time by using something somebody else has figured out rather than having to calculate something ourselves every time. Big idea when we're using formulas is we're going to take letters, things that we know about or that can change, and replace them with given values, numbers that we were told have been found, measured, somehow gathered. Okay, we'll start with a very simple one here. We have Chris. He gets paid for delivering flyers according to the formula P equals 0.1n. P is his pay, and as it says in the question, N is the number of flyers he delivers. So they're going to tell us something about his pay or the number of flyers each time, and we're going to have to solve for the missing part. So let's look at part A here. What happens if Chris doesn't deliver any flyers? In other words, his number of flyers, N, is equal to 0. The way I use equations is I take my equation P equals 0.1n and I replace the given letter with the value that I've just determined. In this case, they told us that N is 0. So I'm going to put the 0 in for N and I'm going to replace it with brackets to remind myself that I'm actually multiplying. When numbers and letters are written together, that means that they are multiplying. So I got to make sure that I multiply these things. 0.1 times 0 is still 0. What happens if he doesn't deliver his flyers? He doesn't get paid. Okay. How about part B here? 1 week, Chris delivers 640 flyers. N is 640. Same equation, P equals 0.1 N, but this time N is 640. So 0.1 times 640, again, put in brackets, remind yourself to multiply, and we get 64. He earns $64. Okay, part C. Last week, Chris earned $27. How many flyers did he deliver? So in C, they're telling us how much he got paid. He got paid $27. So if I take my same equation, 0.1n, this time I'm going to replace the P value. P becomes 27. I don't know how many flyers, that's what I want to find out. This is an algebraic equation. To get n by itself, I divide. Whatever I do to one thing, I do to the other side. He delivered 270 flyers. And yes, that's a fairly simple equation, a very simple example of one, but the process works the same even when the formulas get more complicated. Replace the letter you know with the value you're given. Let's take a look at the second one here. I have Karina. She has a job at a pet store. The total she is paid each week can be multiplied by the equation P for her pay equals 14n, where n is the number of hours she works, and then plus 1075. Let's try some questions. If she works for 20 hours, okay, hours we were told was n is 20. The equation we were given, 14n plus 1075, we're going to replace the n with 20. So 14 in brackets 20 plus 1075. Now be careful here, we got to do BEDMAS. Multiply before we add. She's going to get paid $290.75 if she works 20 hours. In part B, she worked on the Christmas holidays full-time for 37 hours. How much would she earn? Okay, so a similar question. The only difference is this time that n, the number of hours, is 37 this time. That was 37, right? Okay. So my equation is still the same. 14 n plus 1075. But I know what n is. I was told 37 hours. Okay, BEDMAS again. As to we're multiplying before adding. Okay, and you should end up with 518 plus the 1075, which comes up to $528.75. look at C. How many hours does she need to work in order to earn $199.75? So this time they're telling us how much she's getting paid. In other words, they're saying that P is $199.75. So if I take my same equation, just writing it out again here, and I'm being told that P is 1075 or 199.75, I have something I have to solve now. Well, to solve this equation, I need numbers on one side and letters on the other. So I think it makes sense to bring the 1075 to the left and turn it into a minus sign. So I've got all the numbers on the left and the letters on the right. I end up with 189 here, 14n left on the other side. I want to get n by itself, so I've got to divide by 14. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other, and I end up with 13.5 hours. Okay, I'll try one more here. To help pay for college, Karina is planning on working full-time in the summer. If each class costs $1,100, how many hours does she need to work to pay for a class? Okay, so she needs to get a whole bunch of pay. How much? 1,100. Our equation is still the exact same equation. Same formula. The only difference is now that P is 1,100. I'm going to do the exact same math. Numbers on one side, 1,100 minus 10.75. Letters on the other side. I want to get my letter by itself. Oops, I guess I should subtract that first, shouldn't I? One more step first there. Sorry, guys. Ahead of myself. 14n. This is $1,089.25. All right, now I can divide by 14 to get n by itself. And I got 77.8 hours. She needs to work almost 80 hours to pay for one class. It's like 2 weeks of work, right? 40-hour weeks. Okay, I'm going to get you guys to try one. I've got a new formula, a new problem. Pause it, give this a try, see what you can do. The height of a plane over time is given by h, that's my height, equals 1200 minus 150t. What's t stand for? T is the time in minutes since the plane started descending. Okay, how high is the plane to begin with? How much time has gone by when it first starts to descend? I don't think any time has gone by. No time. When t is 0. So if I take my equation, I'm going to put t is 0 in for time. No time has gone by. I'm going to get BEDMAS. 1200 minus 150 times 0 is still 0. The plane is 120 meters to start. Okay, part B. What's the height of the plane after 5 minutes? Well, now t is 5. Same exact equation. But what do I know about t this time? I know that it is 5. I'm going to replace my t with 5. I'm going to put it in brackets to remind myself to multiply. And do BEDMAS. 5 times 150 is 750. So multiplying before subtracting, and I get the height is 450 meters after 5 minutes. Okay, part C, how long does it take the plane to land? How long? They didn't give me a number there. What do I know about when planes land? Well, when planes land, they're on the ground. In other words, their height is 0. So I want to figure out when does my height come out to 0. So same equation, but what do? I'm putting 0 in for h this time. Oh, I've got something I need to solve. Numbers on one side, letters on the other. Now this one's kind of nice because I can move either number over to the other side. I can put the 150 over here. It becomes a positive 150. I'm going to get t by itself, so I've got to divide. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other, and t comes out to 8 minutes. It's going to take 8 minutes until my height reaches 0. In other words, for the plane to land. Okay, last one. Shape problem. Still the same kind of idea. There's formulas that deal with shapes. We talk about circles, pi r squared. We talk about triangles, base times height divided by 2. Okay, the area of a rectangle is actually one of our nicest areas. The formula is length times width. What do I know? Well, the area of the rectangle given below is 375. That can go in for area. The length and width of this, well, I've got two different dimensions. I pick one for length and one for width, and I have to multiply them together. So in this case, I think it makes sense to make my length 15 and my width 5x minus 10. I put it in brackets to remind myself I'm multiplying. Well, how do I solve this? This is algebra again. What do we do when we have brackets? We get rid of them by multiplying. And multiplying. And then we put numbers on one side and letters on the other. So I'm going to leave the 75x over here and bring this 150 to the other side. Becomes a plus 150. Does the opposite. I add those together, I get 525. Well, that's 75x's. I want to know 1x. 5, whatever I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So divide by 75, and I get x is 7. The question was, determine how long the rectangle is. Well, if I know that x is 7, I've got this expression where x is 7. I can replace it with 7 in brackets. Do my bed mass. And I get 25 centimeters. And there's my solution. I've figured out the unknown side. Okay, this is formula. This is what we're going to work with today. Okay. Sometimes if people find them a little bit tricky, write down the information you're given every time. P equals, or N equals, or X equals. What do you know? Replace it with brackets. Solve for the missing thing. You should only ever really be replacing one letter in 99% of the cases. If you're stuck, come see me. Give this sheet a try as usual. And that's pretty much the end of the unit. We're just going to practice stuff from the rest of tomorrow's lesson, and then we'll do our test.